Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ryan Hemmert with Washington Business Brokers in Seattle, M&A advisor, business broker, and the founder of Washington Business Brokers. We just turned on the webinar and the live stream, so we're just going to give it a few seconds to give people time to join. And this recording is going to live out on YouTube. So if you're watching this after the fact, I hope it is also a sunny day in Seattle or wherever you happen to be. Okay. The list that we're going to go through here over the next 20 minutes or so is really for every owner, and it's intentionally written to be industry agnostic, right? And we'll talk about each of these very tactical steps to help you improve upon your business, right? Perhaps if you're having a slower day or slower week or slower season, whatever it may be, there's always steps we can take to improve our business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But I'll again pause for just a few more seconds. And if there are, just as I go through the content here, if there are any questions or anything like that, we should have the questions open on the webinar. So you're welcome to type those into the chat, and I will live answer those here. Okay. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining us today. As I said, I'm Ryan Hemmert. I'm an M&A advisor, business broker. I am the founder of Washington Business Brokers in Seattle, Washington, and have been doing deals for the last 6 years. Today, we're going to talk about 15 actions any owner can take to improve their business. Okay. All right, so here we go. We're going to go through these rapid fire, okay? And these first couple are really core ones that I think a lot of owners have glossed over for a long time. First one here, take your Google My Business profile seriously, okay? This hands down is the number one thing you can do today to improve your business at zero cost. I can't tell you how many times still in 2026 I'll pull up a business. I'll be talking to an owner. Just this morning, I got a call from an owner, right? Found us online, da 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 da. He calls up. I go to pull up the business, and the Google result appears, right? And what do we see? The Google My Business profile might see something like permanently closed, right? And it has red text. You've all seen that. And folks, it's been 6 years since COVID, and some businesses still say permanently closed, right? And people flipped that, right? Google flipped that switch on for a lot of businesses during COVID when there were shutdowns, right? Many owners still haven't corrected that, right? Which is astounding, right? And so large language models, AI models, right? All of these places that are looking for information about your business are picking up that your business is closed or not open for business. So again, pull up your Google My Business profiles. And you really want to go through it. Make sure your hours are accurate. You want to work, of course, to get more reviews. Hopefully, if you don't understand the importance of reviews, like I can't help you at this stage, right? So, of course, you want to get more reviews. You want to ask for reviews from previous customers, right? But then also, you want to add pictures and video. Yes, you can have video in your Google My Business profile, and I would encourage you to do that. Okay. The second thing on the list here really is a natural segue from number one, right? So after you've cleaned up your Google My Business profile, you want to look at your online profiles and online write-ups about your business across the board, across the internet, right? So are you on all other search websites? Are there are there videos, and can you create a space for your business on YouTube? That's free, just like it's free to create a Google My Business profile. You can do the same thing there. Are you on Home Advisor? Are you on Angie's List? Are you on Nextdoor? Are you on Yelp, your local chamber, and on and on and on, right? Importantly, in an era of AI and large language models, you need to start using identical, exact language to describe your business across all of those places. Why? Because the AI models, again, they're looking for, all AI is pattern matching between words and letters, right? So they are looking for you to use the exact same words about your business, describing your business. Hey, Washington Business Brokers represents businesses between 2 million and 30 million in revenue. right, across the Pacific Northwest. So if we use that exact sentence, we want to make sure that wording is identical across all of the places we talk about our firm. Okay. It's the same thing for your business. I challenge you, pull up browser windows. Don't just use Google, use Firefox, use Mozilla, like whatever it is, and also use different AI models, right? And say, hey, who is the best plumber in Renton? Right, or whatever it may be, or I'm looking for a landscaper in Bellingham. What are my best bets in my neighborhood? Look at what the large language models and search platforms are telling you. Number three, as owners, when is the last time that you look at your P&L on a monthly basis? I'm not talking about it at year end, right, during tax time, but I'm talking about over the last 3 years. We tell every owner to start by opening up QuickBooks, pulling up their monthly P&L, and printing out for the last 2 years, or ideally 3 years, your P&L, like your full P&L detail for the last 3 years, and putting that up on the wall, right, or on a whiteboard. And what you want to do here is you want to start to look at each expense or line item as a percentage of revenue. And you want to keep a careful eye on those percentages of revenue over time. Right. One of the things that we see a lot of people focus on their direct costs, right? Of course, your labor and cost for trucks and all of this fun stuff, your cost of goods sold expenses. Most owners stop there, right? And where we see really good owners, right, keeping an eye on too, are things like your software and tools. Of course, all of us have software and tools, digital tools that are required to run our business. That said, like a lot of times, like once we sign up for a service, we're all guilty of not looking at the cost for that service, perhaps that we signed up for years ago. So challenge yourself there on if you're really truly using all of that software. And then beyond that, you want to look for some of the vendors that are required for your business. So insurance costs, marketing firms, digital and SEO marketing firms is a good one here. Bookkeepers, right? We saw somebody where the bookkeeping expense looked really high, right? And sure enough, they got a quote from somebody we sent them a note to, right? And it saved them two-thirds of their bookkeeping costs. And it was nearly $100,000 just for that one suggestion. CPAs, legal costs. Like, have you shopped your vendors recently? Make them work for you. All right, number four, if your business is challenged, if for whatever reason the economy is soft, your space is soft, your local geographic market is soft, make the cuts immediately. You know you need to make to survive. Do not wait. Do what it takes, right? If that means letting people go, do it. If it means reducing hours, do it, right? If you have too much capacity or over capacity, make the cuts to your team and expense footprint. Okay. Common question in corporate America during budget season, right? They have to pull together every team or department lead, right? I used to lead teams in corporate America, right? So one of the questions during budget season is I had to document if there was a 5% budget cut or a 5% revenue cut, what cuts would I make in my department, right? And across my teams. It's the same question I would ask to you as an owner. What levers do you have to pull? And getting yourself to think this way, like it's a good thought exercise to think about what areas of your business are perhaps not as necessary or duplicative or not as much as a value driver for your business. Number five, have you asked your employees for their ideas to save money? They probably have some ideas for you. Okay. Importantly, I'm a big believer in giving bonuses for finding savings, right? And this also creates a team spirit here. So, if you've got everybody thinking about how to kind of improve the ship, right, to survive the battle, sort of thing, or survive the battle or beat the competition, like this also helps instill a team culture. Okay. Number six is the mirror of this, right? So same thing, ask your employees for their ideas to grow, right? And create some sort of competition or bonus here for wins. And they may have ideas, right? Because they're out at job sites all day or because they're frontline employees on the phone or talking to customers, right? Ask your employees for what they think or how they think they can grow your business, right? And some of their ideas might be obvious, but you're really looking for like that sixth idea or that ninth idea or that 13th idea that comes out of a brainstorming suggestion. That might be the nugget that materially drives your business over the next year. Number seven, let's say you offer really pricey landscape design and build projects. Okay. And let's say those projects cost 30,000 up to a quarter of $250,000. Could you chunk your services, right? To chunk up, right? Or use some sort of milestone approach, milestone billing or project billing to make it easier to say yes to your business. An example here would be paying for the design work, right? For landscape design and build. So, hey, we're going to do all of the planning, right? And the planning with a landscape architect is going to cost $10,000, right? And then, oh, if you want us to do all of the material selection and the digital mapping of it and et cetera, that's another $5,000, right? And then, hey, these are the first steps we could do, or these are all the core items, right, of any of our packages that we're going to offer. Went to a presentation recently, and they talked about the power of giving your customers options, right? Give people something to say yes to and challenge yourself there with your customers. Are you giving them something to say yes to, or are you putting them in this hostage, uncomfortable situation where they feel pressured to say yes to only something that's very expensive or telling you no or ghosting you, right? And so think about packages and giving people something to say yes to. Okay. Number eight, thank your past customers. Give them something of value for free. I see this again and again with some of the best businesses. So examples here. Let's say we sold a 70-year-old plumbing business up in Bellingham a year or two ago, and they sent out every quarter. They sent out top home plumbing tips, right? So hey, this is what happens to your pipes in the winter. Here are things we recommend to do to winterize your home, right? And they would send that out in October or November. So and they had an email list built up of thousands and thousands of customers over all of these years. And they got a lot of comments from that. That cost them no money, right? Or maybe $100 for a MailChimp account, right? Or whatever it is to send out that email. So I'd encourage you to be thinking of things like that. Like your customers want information. The dry cleaner that I go to here in Seattle, they have a little card with tips on how to take care of your clothes. And they started giving that out as you pick up your clothes. Cost them next to nothing to offer that, right? But again, it sets them apart from every other place I've had clothes dry cleaned at over the last 20 years that's never done that, right? Those owners are forward thinking and thinking about how they can set themselves apart from their competition. Next. Whoops. Um, okay, benchmarking yourself against your competition. This one's important, especially for businesses that have been around a while. I find that people, a lot of times, like when we go to take a business to market, buyers are one of the early questions a buyer asks us is, hey, who is that business? Who is the seller competing with? And a lot of times when we go and ask the seller, they'll just say, well, there's a bunch of local players, Ryan, and da, 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 no one specifically. Like I'll frequently hear something like that. And folks, you're competing with somebody, right? Like if you're a business owner, you are competing with somebody. So you do need to be a little bit dialed in there about who you're competing against. When was the last time you secret shopped, right? Or benchmarked your offering against your competitors? So think about response time. Think about the estimate or pricing process. I have a townhouse, right? Me and my neighbors, we wanted to get exterior fencing on one side, on two sides, a side or two of the townhouse, right? And so we contacted a couple of fencing companies. And folks, I know one of the owners of a prominent fence company in the Pacific Northwest. Know this owner. The estimating process with his business was painful. I had to call the estimator days after the guy came out and asked him for an estimate. Said he would send it the next day, still didn't receive it. Finally, I texted him 6 days after he came out. He sent the estimate. Another firm that has billboards around town that's much smaller than the much bigger fencing company that's been around for a long time. Guess what? They came out and did an estimate. We had the estimate in our email within an hour of the person being on the site, and they walked through the estimate right in front of us. Which company do you think my neighbors were more comfortable with? Right? Like, take a guess. So it's not just about pricing, it's about your process of delivering the price and your response time to getting back to people, right? And then yes, pricing plays a part in it, but it's not always the primary determinant of who a customer is going to go with. And then finally, presentation and communication, just how you conduct or how your business conducts itself, how your employees, right? And the people answering your phones, the people responding to your emails, how they handle themselves with your customers. All of that stuff is important. Number 10, clean and freshen up your physical space. Could you imagine if I came into the office for your business and there was a trash can right to the left and it looked like it hadn't been emptied since 2013? What kind of first impression do you think that sets with with a potential customer, right? Or if your bathroom, the business bathroom is dirty, or a million other little things, right? So there's a lot of just general, in this case, literal house cleaning that you can do with your business, and that sets the message with your employees. If they're in a clean environment, they're more likely to take care of their customers, right? You know, and you hear owners talk about, hey, all of my trucks are clean, and they take pride in that because they want clean trucks to go out to a job site or to somebody's home. It's the same sort of idea here. It works, right? And it sets the message with you as an owner to your employees that details matter. Okay. Number 11, do you have a documented process for estimates, setting up a new customer, completing a job? The message here with number 11 is just in general, think about creating standard work or checklists. We sold a tree care business. Those tree crews, before they went out every morning and before they started each job, they had a checklist, like a safety checklist that they went through. Then, when they wrapped up a job, they had another checklist that they went through. And as they went through that checklist, every employee initialed it, right, at the end of each job site. And only then, after all the employees on that job site and done that work, only then did the owner invoice the tree removal work or tree pruning work that happened at that job site. Number 12, write a guide, case study, share a checklist with past customers or prospects. Again, people are looking for information. Think about all the reasons you're going online to find information out about things you want to buy, how to choose a tree removal service in Seattle, right? What about if your tree care company or tree removal company had an article about how to choose a tree removal service? Okay. So again, that costs you nothing but your time to get out there. Are there partnership opportunities for your business? Could you pay, if it's appropriate, could you even pay referral fees or small bonuses? And folks, when I say referral fees, I think people sometimes think of a lot of money. Could it be a $10 coffee shop or Starbucks gift card? Could it be a $5 Amazon gift card? Of course it could, right? But again, that could be the best $5 or $10 that you start giving it away. 14, engage in an industry association. Okay, these are a wealth of ideas, vendor input, best practices, camaraderie, and support. I'm in a couple different best practices groups for M&A advisors. We share information on tools, right? What works, what doesn't work, what vendors, what software is good, what markets to go after, what industries to avoid, on and on and on and on. How to handle different deal structures, how to handle different buyer types, all of that fun stuff. If you are not in an industry association, you are missing out. One of the replies that I get a lot of times when I talk about this with an owner is, well, Ryan, I don't want to share information with my competitors. And I would tell you, like, I respect that, right? But there's still a lot of stuff, even if you engage in a local industry association, that you can share about your business that all of your competitors are facing at the same time, right? You can all kind of check each other. And I bet there's some information that most owners in your space are open to talking about, even within your local market. But beyond that, though, if you truly like, if you really think that there's a lot of sensitive information or some sensitive information that you don't want to discuss with local competition, get engaged in an online group. Okay. We've got a children's autism clinic owner right now. We also saw this with a medical spa owner. Both of them are extremely engaged in Facebook and Reddit groups, or Reddit thread, right? And a closed Facebook group for owners in their space. And my seller is a way better seller. Buyers are interested in her business. I think in a lot of cases, like, yeah, sure, she's a great owner, but she also learned a lot of tips and things from many other owners in this Facebook group. Every other time I've talked to her for the last year on a phone call, she mentions this Facebook group of things she's learned from other owners. So again, it all comes back to some sort of industry association or trade group. And then finally, number 15, get a free mentor or coach through your local SCORE chapter. If you haven't heard of SCORE, this stands for the Service Corps of Retired Executives. It is funded by the SBA. Every business owner in America, regardless of where you live, right, of where your business is based, has access to a SCORE coach, and this is 100% free. Okay, so you go on SCORE's website. I believe it's score, SCORE.org. If you just Google SCORE, I'm sure it'll come right up. And you put in a little information. Hey, I'm Ryan. I own a plumbing business in this market. right? And my challenges are marketing and new customer leads and then optimizing my processes. Score's going to come back to you real quick. They're going to do a short, like 15-minute or 30-minute intake Zoom with you, and they're going to understand a little bit more about your business. Basically, that person at the local score office is going to serve as like a matchmaker, right? So they're going to interview you first. And then, for example, in Seattle, I know three of the score coaches personally, right? Seattle has over 50 score coaches, right, that help different owners. And each of those score coaches has different specialties. One might be in accounting and bookkeeping, another might be in digital marketing, another might be in operations and process standardization, et cetera, right? So that score office administrator is going to serve as a matchmaker between the pool, right, or the roster of coaches and between the specific needs for you and your business, right, your ownership journey. Okay. These two suggestions I just touched on, the industry or trade association and getting a score coach, it doesn't matter who you are or how big your business is, you need to do those two things. Okay. Next, real quickly here, just kind of some background information. Selling your business in three steps in terms of what the process looks like and what to expect. Really, it starts with preparation and valuation. We would ask for a bunch of your financial statements in order to give you a defensible valuation range, right? And that way, you're armed with information. And if that range is aligned with your expectations, great. Should you wish, you could, of course, you could formally begin the sale process. But more importantly, having information, having that defensible valuation range, we're also going to talk about steps that will help you improve upon that valuation range in time. So we'll talk about the business levers. Some of them we just talked about with these 15 items here today. Okay. And so you can see the other parts here of preparation and valuation. Basically, it's um, the compilation and preparation of polished marketing materials for your business, right? Video interview of the owner about the business where they're talking about the team, they're talking about the growth levers, they're talking about the local market that they play in. Phase two of the process, this is when the business is live on business for sale platforms and we're actively talking to buyers about a business. We call this phase marketing and negotiations. The business is going to be live on at least 5 or 6 different online platforms. We're going to be contacting buyers through social media and through our buyer email list, et cetera. And then really, we're going to be spending a lot of our time addressing buyer questions on the financials, on the team, on the growth levers, on any licensing for the business, et cetera, right? And the goal of phase two is to get to an executed letter of intent or LOI, right? What we commonly call, like, at that point, we are effectively exclusively dating a single buyer, right? And then finally, once we have an executed LOI, we're formally in phase three of the process that we call working to a successful close. There's multiple things that happen concurrently in phase three, really four big things. So we've got due diligence. Attorneys are going to get engaged to draft the legal documents. So they're going to take the letter of intent, which is really a deal outline. They're going to map that into a legally binding purchase and sale agreement. Then at the same time as the attorneys are going to be working on the purchase and sale agreement, buyer's lender, right? As an advisor or broker, we're going to be working a lot with the buyer's lender on their financing approval for the buyer's loan. And then finally, when those three threads are all kind of flashing green or greenish, we will get escrow involved to legally facilitate the closing of a sale. Okay. We've got a lot more detail about each of those steps and blog posts on pretty much every one of those steps on our site and videos. I encourage you to check them out if that interests you, but at a very high level, this is what to expect. And then finally, if you think about your business, right, and as I'm talking with an owner for the first time, in the back of my mind, I'm always keeping these questions. I'm always keeping these questions kind of top of mind. And this is what I'm very quickly looking to understand about a business as I talk to that owner. Okay. So, how much cash does the business generate? Your revenues might be $4.5 million. Great. But how much cash is left after you pay all of the employees and all of the expenses? And all of the other fun stuff that are associated with owning said business in that industry. What are we going to base your valuation on? Almost always it's going to be cash flows, right? But importantly, what multiple are we going to assign to those cash flows? Third, what is the owner's role? How many hours a week, right? Is an owner working? Does that vary between seasons or times of the year? Okay. And does the owner need to be in a physical location for the business? Are they able to work remotely? Fourth, and this one's important, how many trained employees are there? Okay. Are those full-time folks, part-time folks? Are they contractors from Upwork or whatever it may be? And then this number five here, how do I grow it? Okay, so if I agree to pay you $3 million for your business, of course, I want to grow the business to be worth more than $3 million. So as a buyer, one of the top of mind questions once they get comfortable with the financials of your business is thinking about what are the growth levers that they as a buyer can execute on. So as I'm hearing an owner or seller tell me about their business, I'm thinking about how that business could be grown. Okay. And then finally, are there any customer, supplier, or channel concentration or seasonality? And so, for example, here, is it a restoration business where 60% of your revenue for the business happens between November and March? Is it a landscaping business where 75% of your revenue happens between April and October? Whatever it may be. Like just understanding, is it an e-com business, right, that sees a huge uptick around Valentine's Day, Easter, and then Christmas? Right? Whatever it may be. So just understanding those revenue and cash flow cycles. Okay. We've got information about a lot of all of these frequent owner questions on our website. We've quickly put a list here of core ones that we hear again and again. Just want to briefly show this list so that you can go online to find more information out, right? If you're a reader, great, we've got blog posts. If you're a listener and like to see video, we've also got videos on each of these items too. Common questions that come up again and again. What's the difference between an asset and stock sale? I've heard different measurement terms used for cash flow, SDE versus EBITDA, how do licenses and permits work, what to do when a buyer approaches you as an owner out of the blue, how is inventory handled, how are fixed assets handled, how do we maintain confidentiality through this process? Talk to me about rollover equity, seller financing, earnouts. How much tax are you as an owner going to pay? And then how do we get paid? What's our success fee? What kind of legal fees or escrow fee can you also expect in a sale? Okay. And then finally, I'd say if you'd like to talk confidentially, you can go on our website, right? There's in 3 clicks, you can schedule a intro consult, right? We have times available pretty much every day, right? For owners to directly to directly discuss their business one-on-one. Or you can, of course, call our office, right? Our number is the 206-703-3555. Thank you for joining our webinar today or for listening to this content on YouTube. Again, I am Ryan Hemmert with Washington Business Brokers in Seattle, Washington. Thanks and have a great rest of your day.